What's up, everybody? My name is Big Cam, and this is a very special weekend because we have now passed 100 1/6 scale figures unboxed. Now, they're not all entirely Hot Toys. There is a couple of miscellaneous third-party figures. There is, I believe, one or two Inart figures as well, but for the majority, they are all Hot Toys figures. So today we're gonna go through, and I think the best way to do this, because this is a nice big milestone of 100, and going forward from here, it's probably gonna be too many figures to do this, so I think I'm gonna go back and start at figure 1 that I unboxed and go through the entire list and show you guys how we ended up where we ended up today with the 101 figures unboxed, because there's actually a unboxing video coming out tomorrow as well for Marvel's Daredevil, who is now in Daredevil Born Again, but this is the Netflix Daredevil suit. So yeah, Hot Toys Daredevil, which is a very rare figure, so this will be getting unboxed tomorrow, so stay tuned for that, y'all. Or depending on when I did it, I think this might come out on Saturday. The collection tour video comes out on Sunday, or vice versa. But either way, this is Daredevil Born Again week, so currently up on the channel there is a season 1 full breakdown and recap of Daredevil Born Again season 1, and previously I had already done season breakdowns for the Netflix Daredevil show. So if you guys want to get caught up on Daredevil for Daredevil Born Again season 2, go check out all the videos on the channel, and I'll leave a link at the end of this video. But let's jump right on into it, shall we? And I hope this video is not too long for you guys, but I hope you guys grab a snack. Maybe you're grabbing your little morning breakfast on a Sunday or Saturday or on the weekend here, and I hope you guys sit back and relax and enjoy this collection tour. Alright, so to kick off this collection tour, I feel like we should go back and start at the beginning, and that started out with just these IKEA shelves. And if you're wondering, these back ones are IKEA Pax wardrobe units, and these are IKEA Billy bookshelves. And I'm trying to upgrade this shelving unit in the future, but I still have some Legos in here, so I still have some more stuff I can take out of this room to then, you know, put some figures on those shelves and get some more space to free up in here. And I still have up there to use as free space as well. So we're not fully maxed out quite yet, but we are pretty jam-packed on all of these shelves. And it all started because I was at my local comic book shop and I saw this statue, and they were having a big old sale, and I ended up getting them on like a great deal. I think like close to 50% off. I think it's like an $800 something statue. I got it for $4, you know, so the guys over there give me great deals, and that shop is called Comically Speaking in Reading, Massachusetts, if you guys want to go check them out. But they are some good guys. Tell them Big Cam sent you, and they got some really cool statues, and I have gotten some figures from there, but mostly statues is what they have in their inventory. And you know, some of these statues take up a lot of space, so I haven't necessarily gone back to get more statues from them. But Daredevil was the person in the statue that started it all. And he, you know, I was like, oh, he'll go perfectly over my left shoulder when I'm recording videos. But then I had all this free space on this shelf, and I was like, okay, I'll get a couple figures to go next to him. And then it snowballed, and now we have the collection that we have today. But after that Daredevil statue, then came my Vision figure. And this Vision honestly could use like a 2.0, but I think this is the 2.0. So maybe he could use like a 3.0. I don't know if I want to get the all white Vision. I guess I'll find out after Vision Quest coming out later this year if that will be worth it or not. But that Wanda also I'm not too happy with, so maybe I will end up getting a better Wanda and a white Vision. And hey, they never did an Agatha figure, so maybe we could get an Agatha all along, you know, witchy character. That would be nice. But after Vision there, then came our boy Loki, and he's back here with Thor from 2012's Avengers, one of the oldest figures in my collection. But yes, Loki there is Avengers 1 Loki, but he's also Avengers Endgame Loki, so he's a little bit better quality than that original Avengers Loki, and I think he looks really good, so, maybe eventually I'll have to pull him out from, the back depths of this corner unit here and find a better spot for that figure, and maybe put his giant horns on him again and give him his giant staff, because at the current moment he's getting arrested by Thor. And he has that muzzle on his face. But after I unboxed Loki, there was a couple of 1/10 scale figures that are downstairs that aren't really worth showing, but they're of Vision in his Halloween outfit and Quicksilver in his comic book accurate costume, but they're like kind of 1/10 scale statues, so they don't really match the scale in this room. So I have them just tossed on a shelf downstairs, so not too important. But the next figure that was unboxed after Loki was this dual Star Wars pack with Boba Fett in his Tusken Raider outfit with those weapons, and he is in his armor that he got back from Cobb Vanth, whatever that guy's name is, and that is not a bad looking dual Boba Fett pack, but I think I might want to get the, more upgraded, repainted suit for Boba Fett, and maybe even that throne that he sits on. Not too bad for my Star Wars collection. That's pretty much the extent of it for the moment. But as we head towards May and we have another Star Wars movie coming out, there will be more Star Wars figures coming in the future. But after those Boba Fetts, we come way down here on this shelf and we unboxed the Mysterio Illusion Iron Man, which is a great looking figure. Battle damaged, it's got tons of detail on it, it's got so much battle damage on this suit that it's such a like an artistic piece. The base lights up with green batteries lighting up those, glowing green effects. And some people just don't like this figure because it's technically not Tony Stark. It's from an illusion from this one particular scene in a Spider-Man movie. And, I kind of agree with that sentiment, but also it's a really cool figure. So it's a shame that it's down here on my bottom shelf, but it's still pretty damn cool. But I went from one battle-damaged figure to another battle-damaged Tony Stark Iron Man, and this bad boy is the Mark 85 from Avengers Endgame, and you can see the battle-damaged head sculpt there, the Infinity Gauntlet hand ready to snap, the battle-damaged all over the chest and the arm, all the way down onto the legs, and he's kneeling in that perfect pose. And I have him right in front of Dr. Doom, which RDJ will be playing in Avengers Doomsday, which we still don't know how or why Dr. Doom is going to look like Tony Stark, but I'm sure they'll explain it, and if they don't, we will riot. But after we unboxed this great Iron Man figure, which is one of my top 5 figures in the collection, and at the end of this collection tour, if you guys want to see a separate video of me talking about the top 5 figures in my collection, drop a comment down below and we will get that video done for y'all. But after this Mark 85, we unboxed that amazing Superman statue that has been in the back of almost all of my videos. Flowing red cape in that statue. It is huge and it's super heavy, but like look at the riblets. That guy's got 8,000 abs. Yeah, like that's a super, super cool Superman statue, and I'm very, very happy with that purchase. I think this is one of 1,400 or something like that, one of 1,100 maybe, or 1,200 in the world, or maybe one of 1,000 in the world, and I got one, baby, and it's here in the collection. That's awesome. And I believe that Superman statue is called Mythos Superman, if you want to try and get one yourself. But after we did that Superman unboxing, we went over here and we got a Gladiator Thor figure. And I think this is still one of the best looking Thors, with the battle damaged paint coming down the face and going onto his neck. And honestly, this figure I didn't do all of my due diligence on, because you can see underneath his shoulder armor on the left arm there, he's still got a little bit of plastic on him, but it's okay. I covered him up with that shield, and it's protecting the figure. It's no big deal. But he's holding his helmet there, which you can put on the figure, but you have to take off that hair, so I left it for the moment. But he's standing next to Sakaar Stan Lee. Love to see that. But right after I unboxed Gladiator Thor, I unboxed Gladiator Hulk, which is one of my top figures in my collection, one of my favorites at the very least, because of how good this figure looks. He comes with that giant hammer, that giant axe, and he's got battle war paint as well, and he's also like the least naked Hulk has ever been, you know, other than like Smart Hulk, you know, so he's got like some armor, and he's got like, you know, gladiator armor with the giant, you know, Roman red mohawk on the helmet. Yeah, like that character looks absolutely sick with the screaming head sculpt. Yeah, love that. And honestly, the coolest I think Hulk has looked in the MCU. But after unboxing Gladiator Hulk, I had to get a Wanda for my Vision, and I think Wanda here was the perfect figure to go alongside Vision. And, you know, it's much more of like a, you know, almost Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness Wanda, but I think it's more of like the Wanda from WandaVision, but labeled as the Scarlet Witch, and she comes with the Darkhold book, and, you know, she's got her creepy magic fingers going, which honestly, they could have gave you some magic fingers where they like turning black, but I think I need an upgraded Wanda in my collection, so let me know in the comments, which Wanda should I get? Should I get Civil War Wanda, or should I get like Multiverse of Madness Wanda, or should I wait and, you know, maybe they'll do a future Wanda coming out down the line? But I think there is a artisan version of Wanda that I think is the Civil War version, or maybe it's like Avengers Infinity War Wanda, but either way, I think I need an upgraded Wanda in the collection to go next to Vision there. And at least they have the WandaVision backdrop in the background that kind of brings it together for them. But it also takes up a lot of space, so maybe I get rid of that and have more space for the shelf. But after Wanda, we unboxed maybe the worst figure in my collection, and that would be General Grievous there. He is not the Hot Toys General Grievous. This is Sideshow General Grievous, and I was able to get this figure for free by cashing in some Sideshow rewards points. And, you know, for a free figure, I think he looks great. But for a figure in general, that is the worst figure I have in this collection. Not even close, right? Like, by far, out of the 101 figures plus statues in this collection, this is the worst one in the worst time I had. Out of all of these figures, this is the worst unboxing experience I had. The figure was barely able to get posed. It's super fragile. If I bumped into that right now, it could take a high dive off of the top shelf. But luckily, it barely fits there too. It's like a centimeter away from the ceiling. But it's such a bad figure that I had to demote it to the top shelf. So yeah, I'm glad it's up there for the moment. But maybe I need to get that Hot Toys General Grievous and get rid of this cheap one. Well, after General Grievous, the worst figure in the collection, we moved over to do a Red Hulk statue unboxing that used to be on this shelf back in the day next to Daredevil there. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but currently that Red Hulk statue is down in the basement, so we're not going to go walk down there at the current moment just to show y'all what my basement's looking like. But that was what was next. And then after that Red Hulk statue, we went from my worst figure to maybe one of my best figure experiences in my best figure unboxings. And that is the clean suit Deadpool from Deadpool and Wolverine. And like, just look at how bright and vibrant that red suit is. Now, granted, the metal claws come with the battling damaged version of this character, but, you know, you can end up taking the accessories from this figure, tossing them on this bad boy, and now you can recreate that scene from the opening of Deadpool and Wolverine. And I love that I have the two clean suits standing next to each other, and he's also got the bone claws and the metal adamantium skeleton of Logan down there on the base. But I also have the battling versions of both these characters right here, so love that I can have those side by side with each other, or at least kind of. But this clean suit version comes with that TVA portal in the background, the adamantium skeleton, comes with dog pool, baby pool, you know, like it comes with head pool, I think, maybe? No, I could be mistaken, actually. But either way, you know, like the clean suit Deadpool, I could be mistaken, actually. I think that backdrop comes with that figure, and I gave it a little bit of a flip. I don't know. I could be mistaken. It's been a long time since I unboxed these. But that figure, I remember being super easy to unbox, came with a lot of accessories, and it is one of the best bang for the bucks you can get from Hot Toys. But after unboxing our boy Deadpool, we came over to the Spider-Man shelf and we unboxed the red and gold integrated suit from Spider-Man No Way Home. And that has that great looking display base that has Doc Ock arms coming out from around it. And, you know, looks like he's about to grab the two Peters that are out in front of him here. And yeah, that suit really pops. And I love the pose that I have this figure in. It makes a great centerpiece for the shelf, and you know, is at the perfect height above the front row but behind the back row, because after this Spider-Man integrated suit we unboxed the Venom from Spider-Man 2, and just look at how imposing that figure is. It's friggin' massive. It is on a tiny riser in the back to make sure that his head can be up as high as possible, but you can see his wingspan, especially with those extra claw hands on. They stretch from one side of the cabinet all the way to the other, so he makes, just like Gladiator Hulk back there, he makes for a very good back against the wall, big centerpiece, you know what I mean? But I don't really have any other Spider-Man video game characters, so I don't know if that Venom necessarily works, but he is, you know, a Spider-Man villain in one of the biggest, so, you know, I think he works for the backdrop on this shelf, but maybe that gets changed in the future. But from Spider-Man 2 Venom, we went on and unboxed the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Bucky, and that metal black and gold arm looks pretty good, but something with this figure is just off. Like, I don't know if you can tell from the other Bucky to this one, but the proportions in the chest just don't look correct. Like, look at the left trap to the right trap. Like, there's something completely wrong with the musculature of this figure, you know, underneath the body. Although the outfit looks correct and the head sculpt isn't that bad, but the actual figure itself needs some extra work, and we could use a Bucky 2.0, which I think they are dropping a Winter Soldier 2.0, and, you know, that's been pre-ordered, so maybe that will come out in the future, and maybe I can snag one of those off of eBay or something. But I definitely need like a full Winter Soldier in the collection, because this is Bucky. That doesn't necessarily count as the Winter Soldier, but this is also Bucky, so that doesn't necessarily count as the Winter Soldier either. But we have two Buckys there on that shelf, so I think those are the only two Buckys in my collection at the moment. But after unboxing the Winter Soldier from the Falcon and Winter Soldier TV show, we went and did some more Spider-Man figures. And we did the homemade suit, and that is technically from Spider-Man Far From Home, even though that is the first suit that he wears, and, you know, technically the suit from Spider-Man Homecoming, but it's Far From Home because this has the Mysterio illusion, you know, kind of grid thing going around the base, and he's standing on a giant Mysterio drone. But this figure, although it doesn't have a whole lot going for it, it is highly posable, and you can leave him in dynamic poses and have absolutely no risk of damaging the suit long term because of the cloth material and how, you know, flexible that figure is. Honestly, you can pull off some really cool poses with that figure. So maybe the only thing I'll do to this in the future is maybe swap in a Tom Holland head sculpt, you know, maybe swap this Tom Holland head sculpt onto that figure and, you know, maybe do that. But for the moment, I kind of like the way that the Homecoming suit looks right there. And after we unboxed the Homecoming suit, we did the stealth suit right here in front of him, also from Spider-Man Far From Home, with the deluxe lava base with like the lava creature that Mysterio was creating with the drone tech. And this is an all black, you know, almost
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. style of suit. And, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. was the one who gave Spider-Man this suit, and just, you know, he couldn't be Spider-Man in London, so he needed a stealth suit, so this was it. And he ended up being the Night Monkey. Or how Ned nicknamed him. Oh, it's not Spider-Man, it's the Night Monkey. But then I tossed a Tom Holland head sculpt on this figure, and this is how he's looked since we unboxed him. And I kind of maybe want to switch up that pose, maybe use the flip-up goggles on that head sculpt, but that is a pretty damn good looking figure, and some people don't like it, but I think it looks good with that Tom Holland head sculpt. It's just super clean and classy, but, you know, not necessarily the suit I think of when I'm thinking about Tom Holland Spider-Man. But after the stealth suit, we came up here and we unboxed the Sakar Stan Lee and the barbershop Stan Lee. And I just love that there's these different versions of Stan Lee now in my collection. And I have various different cameo versions of him. And I'm not sure how many Stan Lees they made, but I certainly want to get them all, you know, however many there are, and have like a whole shelf of Stan Lee cameos. That would really make my soul happy. But Stan Lee here, as good as he looks, he's paired up with my other Thor Ragnarok figures there in that trio. But then after unboxing Stan, we went and unboxed 2012 Avengers Thor, and not too much to talk about him. He is a quite old figure, you know, dating back to the first Avengers movie. He does come with that Tesseract in the base, you know, in that little device there to be able to take Loki home. And yeah, maybe that Thor head sculpt could use some work, but like I said, this is a very old figure and one of the first attempts at making Chris Hemsworth's head sculpt. But we also have to remember from that movie, well, technically from Thor 1, he had blonde eyebrows, so he was looking tough even in the films back then. But after unboxing Thor from Avengers 1 there, we went and did the Avengers 1 Captain America. And this suit is pretty damn good, but the shield that came with him, the paint on it started fading. So that's when they started doing these like full plastic shields. But at least this one has some like battle damage on it. But really that's like my biggest gripe with this figure is like the articulation and the shield. But they also did a 2.0 of this figure for, you know, the Avengers Endgame, and they did an updated Chris Evans head sculpt on this, but this is the original 2012 Avengers version, so, you know, not the best head sculpt, but still a very chunky, you know, thick boy. He's got thick legs, thick calves, and he does feel like Captain America when you have him in hand, you know? But after Avengers 2012 Cap, we did Avengers Endgame Thor, and that is Bro Thor, as many people call him, or as I call him, Fat Thor, from Avengers Endgame, and he's wielding the giant Stormbreaker axe and Mjolnir, and he's also got his big old gut, but he's got like this all black kind of stealthy Asgardian armor with like the scales on the arms, but now they're all black, you know, but still like a very cool version of Thor with the braided beard and like the big gut, and he's very different than the previous versions we saw him as, but I'm very glad that he's back to being jacked and skinny and you know, back to looking like Chris Hemsworth for Thor Love and Thunder, even though people didn't love that movie, but he will be returning in Avengers Doomsday as well. So what will Thor look like in that movie, I wonder? And after we unboxed Bro Thor, we went and unboxed this Darth Vader Mythos statue. So the same company, Mythos, that made this Superman statue, but this is, I believe, premium format Superman. And I believe that this Darth Vader is a 1/5 scale figure, so that's why he's up on a couple of boxes back there, and, you know, he's up a little higher than Superman is, but still, ironically, Superman's fist, although it's sitting damn near on the base, his fist goes higher, even though this figure, you know, starts way higher. But the Darth Vader figure in statue looks really good, and like the details on that is absolutely unbelievable, and like came with multiple different head sculpts, but that is the best one, I thought. But I could have like the full unmasked head sculpt or just the full Darth Vader head sculpt as well. And I believe this doesn't light up, but there is a version of this that lights up. And I thought I got that one, but I was mistaken. But still very cool figure nonetheless. But if I was you, I would make sure you do the due diligence to make sure you're buying the one that lights up or not. You know what I mean? But then after that glorious Darth Vader statue, we did the Avengers Endgame Captain America, and maybe my best Captain America in my collection at the current moment, at least for Steve Rogers. But this figure, of course, comes with the broken shield. It comes with Mjolnir, comes with the broken parts of the shield down on the base there, and, you know, kind of a stealth suit as well, kind of a darker suit, not as bright and colorful as, say, his Avengers 2012 suit or his original suit there, but still Captain America nonetheless. And that Steve Rogers helmeted head sculpt I thought looked really good, although this figure does come with a great Chris Evans head sculpt. But I really see his likeness in the helmeted look right there so much that this is the look I went with. And maybe in the future I'll change it. Maybe I'll toss the head sculpt on this figure when the Stealth Suit 2.0 arrives, and then we'll do like a bit of a side-by-side comparison for that. But after we unboxed Captain America from Avengers Endgame, I slid over and did a female character, and that is the white-suited Black Widow from her own Black Widow film, which honestly, they came out after Avengers Endgame, and this film was set right after Civil War. So if this film came out like when it was set, I think it would have been so much better, and maybe that death of hers in Endgame would have felt that much more impactful. But, you know, the fact that she dies in Endgame and then, like, Tony dies and Captain America pieces off into the past, we lose 3 of the Avengers all in that one movie, and they only give Tony Stark a funeral. Nothing for Black Widow, nothing for Cap. It's like, okay, cool, yeah, no, we'll move on. But that Black Widow figure, I think there is a better one. I think there's an artisan version of her Black Widow from Iron Man 2 that I really want to get. But there's also a black-suited Black Widow, I think from also the Black Widow movie. But it also might be from like Avengers Endgame that I might want to grab. But I also kind of want them to do a 2.0 of ScarJo's Black Widow from the original Avengers movie, because I think that original look looks, you know, one of the most iconic looks she's had. But I also really want to get her sister, Yelena, really bad. So I have that pre-ordered coming from the Thunderbolts movie. So that should be coming later this year or early next year. Not soon enough, though. But then after unboxing Black Widow, I came and did the movie that came out right after Black Widow, or maybe right before Black Widow, and that was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, another character that desperately needs a second film, right? Like, it's been, what, 2022 when Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings came out, and we still haven't gotten a sequel or any word on that. So I know Dustin Daniel Cretton, the director of that, was working on Avengers: The Kang Dynasty before that got canceled, and then he just did Spider-Man Brand New Day. So now that that's done, maybe Dustin Daniel Cretton can, you know, instead of focusing on Wonder Man Season 2, he can go and focus on Shang-Chi 2, and we definitely need to see Simu Liu back as this character, but he will be in Avengers Doomsday. Now, how and why, I don't know, but I guess we'll find out. But after unboxing Shang-Chi, we slid back over here next to Black Widow, and we unboxed Kate Bishop, who has that big old bow and arrow and bow there, and has a quiver on her back. But I think that likeness to Haley Steinfeld is spot on, and Kate Bishop is one of those new characters in the MCU after Hawkeye that I was absolutely in love with, and I need to see Kate Bishop back in the MCU ASAP. But then after Kate, we unboxed her mentor in his Ronin outfit, and this is Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, but also aka Ronin from Avengers Endgame. And there is a version of this suit that is his Avengers Endgame look, but not the Ronin armor. But come on, if you're gonna get this figure, you're gonna put the Ronin armor on him, you're gonna put the hood up, you're gonna put the sword in his hand. Yeah, he looks really cool cool as the Ronin. But like, you know, you're seeing the Avengers Age of Ultron Hawkeye next to him, he looks so very different as Ronin. And I wish there was a version of Hawkeye from Avengers Endgame that had his, you know, tattooed sleeve that he now has out, you know, and they did a figure of that, but that would probably be pretty difficult. But maybe in the future, who knows? Hawkeye's still alive, right? And Jeremy Renner's still alive after that accident he had. So hopefully Hawkeye Season 2 does end up happening. And hopefully it's around Christmas again so we can have that vibe all over again. Because I loved Season 1. But after the Hawkeyes, we slid over into a couple of Captain America figures. And those would be Sam Wilson's Captain America up there from Brave New World, which is a great looking figure, has a great Anthony Mackie head sculpt, great articulation, great suit, great shield, great wings, you know, and those wings spread perfectly, you know, almost actually a little bit too far, and, you know, pokes out a little bit further than they should on the shelf there, but perfectly, you know, takes up the backdrop behind those characters. And we have Cap, Bucky, Cap, Bucky, Cap. And after we unboxed Sam Wilson, we ended up sliding over here and doing the star-spangled version of Captain America with his old school shield and his gun and like the banderola of ammo around his midsection there. And yeah, you know, old school Cap, but still Captain America nonetheless. I think he's got his notes on the back of his shield, you know, like very classic, but still one of my favorite versions of Captain America, although those short shorts are a tough look. Now, after these two Captain Americas, we slid up to the top shelf and we did the bank robbing Joker, which they did just announce a 3.0 for this and a artisan version of this figure. And I didn't order the artisan version, but I did order the 3.0 just to see if it's better than this version. Now, this figure I did get from my local comic book shop as like an aftermarket, you know, secondhand figure, but it's still really cool. Comes with that bus backdrop diorama and of course that iconic mask. And it's just a shame that this figure got demoted to the top shelf, but at least next to the Batman Begins Batman up there, it looks pretty good. And of course, after unboxing that Joker, we did the Batman Begins figure and tossed those two next to each other. And this was when I started to try and pair up figures every weekend and have something that would be a good video back to back next to each other, but also figures that might go next to each other on the shelf. And that Batman Begins figure, as good as he looks, actual quality of it in person and in hand, I wasn't too happy with, and I think that they could have even done better for the movie, but it is what it is because I do have an upgraded Batman suit right there, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Because after unboxing these two guys, I came over here and did my first Wolverine of the collection and did Hugh Jackman's Wolverine from James Mangold's 2013 Wolverine movie. And he has that katana in one hand, die-cast claws in the other, a full black-on-black John Wick suit in the middle. You know, like I kind of dig that so much, you know, and he really, you know, he's short and the articulations maybe a little looser than it should be, but that's mostly because it's an older figure. But the head sculpt is still pretty damn good for being an older figure as well, so I'm not mad at this figure at all. But then after unboxing that Wolverine figure, I did my first third-party figure, and that was the third-party present toys, and that was the Skeleton Knight, which is the one and biggest flaw with this figure, is this ginormous base it comes on, and it doesn't say Ghost Rider, it says Skeleton Knight, which is just garbage. But the actual figure itself, made of all real leather, and then those fire effects, I really dig Ghost Rider as a character. So this version will probably be my Nicolas Cage version of Johnny Blaze in the collection, at least until that figure comes out from Hot Toys in the 2.0, because the original version I think is made out of pleather and it just doesn't look that good. And the real leather looks just really good, feels really good. So yeah, that will be my Ghost Rider for the time being. After Ghost Rider, we unboxed Lady Pool, and she looks really good. I love that she matches the bright, vibrant red of the clean version of Deadpool as well. And she comes with those mini Uzis, and she comes with her own katanas. She also comes with her own version of Dogpool without the goggles. And she, could toss on the baby Bjorn that comes with this Deadpool figure to be able to hold baby Pool. But I just love that you can literally create a Deadpool family with figures and have, kid pool, baby pool, dog pool, Deadpool, Lady Pool, and have the whole gang together, and then eventually still have Nice Pool and anybody else you want to get. I know they made a third-party Cowboy Pool that I might want to get, but comment below. Should I go and get some more third-party figures? Kind of like that Patch Wolverine and Cyclops there. Definitely might be worth it for some more Deadpool and Wolverine figures. After Lady Pool, we did another Deadpool adjacent character with Cable from Deadpool 2. And Cable, of course, comes with his patented big old gun. He has a grenade launcher. And honestly, my favorite part about this Cable figure is how many weapons he comes with. And then he comes with a glowing eye, and that Josh Brolin head sculpt actually looks pretty damn good. And of course, that metal arm, and it actually creeps onto his chest. So if you fully undress this character, he is very, very, very good figure, actually. He doesn't look like a whole lot, covered up, but he actually is very, very well done. One of my most underrated figures in the collection is this Cable figure, and I wish I had more room for that Deadpool and Wolverine shelf. Even though he wasn't in Deadpool and Wolverine, I feel like he still counts as somebody that should go on a Deadpool shelf. So after Cable, we slid over and did another third-party figure, and that would be the Flashpoint Garter is what they call this figure, but still one of my favorite outfits for Spider-Man from Tobey Maguire's 2002 Spider-Man, and he's in his wrestling suit, and this is almost like Tobey's homemade suit, which I just really like in that shirt. If they sold that long sleeve shirt, I would have bought 15 by now. But after this third-party figure, I grabbed the Mark 6 Iron Man from my local comic book shop. And I love the way that the Mark 6 looks, and of course I have him flipping us off right now and his helmet flipped up at the current moment. But he also comes with the donuts and a Tony Stark head sculpt, so you can recreate that scene from Iron Man 2. And the Tony Stark head sculpt comes with glasses, so I actually quite like that head sculpt, but I stuck with the full Iron Man suit for the moment. Maybe one of my favorite Mark of Iron Man suits, though, out of my whole collection. And then I slid over and did a Spider-Man villain with the Green Goblin. And technically that's the Green Goblin from Spider-Man 1. But this was what they sold with the Spider-Man No Way Home movie. And there's also another version of Green Goblin with, more of the look that Willem Dafoe has in that film. But the classic Green Goblin, some people really hated that the mask wasn't comic book accurate, but growing up with this movie, I absolutely loved the Green Goblin going up against Tobey, and then eventually he becomes the Venom Spider. Love, love, love Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie. But after the Green Goblin, we slid over and did maybe one of the best Spider-Man figures they've ever made, and I think the only battling damaged Tom Holland Spider-Man figure at the current moment. And not fully battle damaged, but you can see the little black scuff marks all over the suit. So battling version is what they call this, and I got the deluxe version with that sweet base for him to stand on, and you can see the angle his feet are at, which is pretty extreme, and he's holding that box from No Way Home. But not a bad looking suit, and I really like that figure, and he kind of fits that spot perfectly right over, Venom's right shoulder there. And then after Spider-Man, we went on an absolute tear of DC figures. And the first one was King Shark, because I believe this was right around when Peacemaker Season 2 came out. So I was like, who could I do alongside Peacemaker? And King Shark there. He's pretty much just a statue, but he's a big old boy. So I, of course, like that he's in the collection, but he also takes up way too much space. So maybe he gets demoted eventually, but I'm also kind of trying to put together the entire Suicide Squad, so I guess we'll see if I can do that in the future as well. But then after King Shark, we went over to do John Cena's Peacemaker. And of course, I have him with his mouth screaming, no tongue, but he has the axe and the sword, the big old gun, and of course, Eagly down below there, standing next to Superman, because currently these are the only two figures for James Gunn's DCU that we have at the moment. But Peacemaker is getting a 2.0 figure with that John Cena head sculpt, with a jetpack and with some other accessories. So I already have that pre-ordered, so I guess we'll do a side-by-side comparison when that figure comes in. And then as we continue on with some more DC figures, I unboxed MMS 200, that Superman figure back in the corner there. Very old figure, but still quite nice looking, and the base is a giant Superman logo back there that you can't see. And then from Henry Cavill's Superman, we came over here and we did The Batman, aka Vengeance, with Robert Pattinson's Batman. And it's kind of disrespectful that I have him down here on the bottom shelf, and I really do like this character, but we've only seen him in that one movie, and I'm not going to be able to get my sequel to The Batman for The Batman Part 2 until like at least 2027, maybe 2028. Like, come on now. Matt Reeves, I know you finished that script. We need to, you know, get some gas. Step on the gas pedal, would you? But Pattinson, still a really nice looking figure, but maybe that cape could have been better with that head sculpt. Very moody Pattinson head sculpt. After Pattinson, we slid back over into a Superman, and this is my only Inart DC figure at the moment, and this is Inart Superman, back corner back there, holding Batflex cowl and holding the Kryptonite spear, and he's got like the laser vision head sculpt on. Very cool figure, and I really, really like the way that Inart does stuff, so in the future, I will definitely be trying to get more Inart figures. But from the DC section down there, we slid up to put the DX19 Batman up next to the Joker in the interrogation scene up there from The Dark Knight. But because I got this armory, the bat suit that came with this, I ended up putting as my Batman, and the DX19 is now stored away in the armory itself. Being, you know, an older figure, why not make that suit the one that sits just in the armory the whole time with Bruce Wayne standing in front of him? Very cool set, and that armory is awesome, especially when you light it up. But if you don't have money to get the Batman armory in that upgraded bat suit, the DX19 is a very nice looking bat suit for anybody that's looking to get a Batman in their collection. You know, I just also wanted to show off that if you wanted, you can get the DX19 and the new Batman armory and, you know, do a little swap with the Batman suits. Right, so I was on a real DC kick at this moment. I must have been doing DC figures while Peacemaker Season 2 was going through the, you know, week by week. So every week I must have been doing a DC figure, because after DX19, I did Batman and Robin as my 50th and 51st figures. So we're only about halfway through for the actual figures. So I'm going to try and speed this up for y'all so we can get through this for you. But I also want to showcase, you know, each one of these figures, because they have all been a part of this 100 figure journey, and each of them I all love in their own way. You know, even that Val Kilmer suit, like, I have a soft spot in my heart for the Batman Forever, and, you know, that Robin suit, how much of that pops off the shelf. Now, the figures themselves, they're older, you know, so not the best quality in that sense, but I still think they look pretty damn good. And then, you know, a couple more aftermarket figures with Mars Toys Riddler and Mars Toys Two-Face, and that Two-Face is a little bit newer than the Riddler, but still, that Tommy Lee Jones head sculpt and the suit being two different colors and the Tommy gun and like the mask down bottom, Riddler, you know, Two-Face, and the Riddler's green spandex and then green jacket, the laughing face, his cane, his hat, you know, like just a psychopath all the way around, but they look so cool, you know, like Batman Forever to me is so underrated, it's not even funny. But after doing some Batman Forever figures, I slid down here and did the Suicide Squad Deadshot, and he is absolutely strapped to the gills. He's got forearm guns, he's got that big old strap in his right hand, he's got a pistol in his left hand, he's got more pistols on his straps, he's got ammo all over the place, you know, he's got his white Deadshot mask head sculpt that you could use as well, but I figured that Will Smith head sculpt looked really good, and I liked that little device that he comes with. But, you know, he also comes with that background diorama. Very cool looking, the Suicide Squad, or actually the first Suicide Squad, where like King Shark is from the Suicide Squad. But the first Suicide Squad movie, Will Smith's Deadshot, I think I want to get Harley Quinn. I desperately want to get like El Diablo there, the covered and tattooed fire guy. I freaking love El Diablo. But I'd love to know, did Hot Toys make the other Suicide Squad members into figures, or did they never get made? Like, did El Diablo ever get made? Rick Flag? I'm sure Harley did, but did like Captain Boomerang or Killer Croc? Let your boy know down in the comment section below if Hot Toys ever made those figures, because I might want to go find those. Or if any, you know, third-party companies made Suicide Squad figures, let your boy know. Or the Suicide Squad. You know, I still want to get Polka Dot Man or Idris Elba's character Deadshot. You know, there's a couple characters from that movie I want to get as well. But after Deadshot here, we slid up and did a glorious piece of Batman here with the 2.0 Batfleck, and this is a glorious figure. He's jacked, he's huge, he's got a turning head with rolling eyes, he's got a Bruce Wayne head sculpt, he's got a more traditional Batman head sculpt where the neck doesn't turn, but I just love that they included, you know, a cowl that doesn't turn, one where he can turn his neck, and then a Bruce Wayne head sculpt. And like that Bruce Wayne head sculpt is so spot on that like even all three of them are, so I had to leave them all out here. And the diorama base looks awesome with the ladder, and it looks like he's about to shoot off that grappling gun, the big old abs and bat logo on the chest. Like, yeah, Ben Affleck I love as a man because he's from Boston, and I was never really here for his Batman, but after seeing this figure in person, it's an absolute grail in my collection, and probably my favorite Batman in the collection, at least figure wise, because my favorite Batman isn't Ben Affleck, but we'll get to that. Now, my next figure is the spectacular Inart Paul Atreides from Dune. And, oh, God, this little light box I have him sitting in, the Inart figure. He's got a magnetic display base, so there's no crotch grabber, but he hasn't fallen over once. I have the cape on him flowing in the wind. He's got the knife up to his head, the Chris knife going, may thy knife chip and shatter. He has the still suit thing running to his nose. He's got that artisan hair going all over the place. He's got the Paul Atreides ring on the finger. Yeah, like, I absolutely love Dune, and I love Timothée Chalamet's portrayal as Paul Atreides, and yeah, I can't wait for Dune Part 3. And if you guys want to check out my trailer reaction up on the channel now, go check that out. We took a brief break from DC there for Paul Atreides, and then we got right back to this DC shelf, and we did that Black Adam back there. And if you guys want to know the full story on this figure, it's kind of complicated, but it ended up working out for me in the long run. And I got that from my local comic book shop, but I think the guy that sold it to him tried to pull a fast one. But if you guys want to check out the Black Adam video and all the videos up on this channel for any of these figures, they are all unboxed on the channel, so you can go check out their individual unboxings if you want. And there is a funny story for that Black Adam figure in that video, so go check that out. But then after Black Adam, we did the third-party Penguin, which does really look like Oscob, but also, you know, that head sculpt, you know, like I wanted maybe a little bit more Colin Farrell, but then if you watch the show, you really can't see Colin Farrell at all. So yeah, I guess this is Oscob, and he's got the Penguin umbrella, he's got a mini, you know, Uzi in one hand, he's got the rings on his fingers, he's got that leather coat, and underneath that, he's got a perfectly, you know, trimmed suit, even though he's a little bit portly in the middle. But the Penguin, the Batman, I really hope both of these characters show up in the Batman Part 2, and, you know, I hope the Penguin has a bigger role, and if he doesn't, maybe he leads into the Penguin Season 2 on HBO, which I would totally watch. And I guess I fibbed just a moment ago, because every single one of these figures in this room has a video unboxing it on the channel, except for 2 figures. And the next 2 that I didn't unbox on the channel because the boxes that they came in were slightly damaged, and I got them, you know, pre-owned from my local comic book shop. And I got, like, you know, both figures, I think for like $200, you know, both total, you know. So I was like, okay, great, I'll get a good price on these, but maybe I won't do an unboxing for them. And that is for Infinity War Bucky right there, and not even a bad looking figure. Actually looks better than the Falcon and Winter Soldier Bucky, but I never ended up doing an unboxing for him, but here he is nonetheless. And then I didn't do an unboxing for Age of Ultron Hawkeye back there, because his box was also destroyed and he was missing a few hands. So I was like, you know, it's not complete, so I don't want to show an unboxing of an incomplete figure. So, you know, I just tossed them on the shelf and never did an unboxing for them. But Hawkeye, Age of Ultron, and Infinity War Bucky still added to the collection nonetheless. After those 2 figures, I went right back to that DC shelf, and I did DX08 Jack Nicholson's Joker from the Batman 1989. And this Joker, especially in this pose, pulling out that musket of a pistol out of his pants right before he shoots down the Batwing. This character and this look of the Joker is one of my all-time favorites, and I think Jack Nicholson as an actor is just so iconic, and especially as the Joker, he really, you know, hammed it up and made it his all, and like the outfit so iconic and like classic. Yeah, he did his utmost, in that Batman behind him. Like, I love that pairing so much, you know, like, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And then after that DX08 Joker, I went and did DX11 Joker, and he came with this whole background interrogation scene with the chair and the desk, and then I tossed Batman up there to join the, like, scene. And, you know, I had them behind the desk, but from this view down below, it looked stupid, so I just put them right next to each other. But that Joker there is really a great looking figure, and I have him cuffed up and sitting down in the chair with the laughing head sculpt. But he does come with the jacket and everything else that you would want from the Joker. But, you know, at the current moment, I have him set up for this scene. But there's also another DX Joker that's going to be coming to the collection in the future as well. So this is not going to be the last of Heath Ledger's Joker in the collection, for sure. But as good as the Batmans look up there in the current moment, I slide back down to one of my favorite shelves, and the best looking diorama, even though it's not that big a base, but the giant golden flagpole for Doom in the background stands out in almost every video. You can always tell where Dr. Doom is, the green fire effects in his hand. Now, this isn't RDJ's Dr. Doom from Avengers Doomsday. This is technically comic book accurate Dr. Doom, but at the current moment, this is my Dr. Doom in the collection, and he looks phenomenal sitting there in front of, you know, the Mark 85 Iron Man and the big 3 trio of the Avengers, if you would. You know, you might as well have Thanos standing here, but I don't have a Thanos in the collection at the moment, so these 3 are going up against Dr. Doom. And a real shame that we don't have this figure in shot all the time, but I always look at this figure because I absolutely love the DX43 Artisan Edition, and you can see the non-Artisan Edition right there, where the head sculpt and like the hair is a little bit more sculpted, and then we have the Artisan hair and how good that looks, and he's sitting there smoking a cigarette with the gun. He's on the Murray Franklin show, sitting on this stage here with the Joker. I absolutely love the way that this setup looks. And then I just added another Joker to it. So I was like, yeah, that works for me. You know, like, technically he had the room. So I was like, whatever, it works. And yeah, I don't have this plugged in and lit up at the current moment. So maybe I could take off those lights and then stick this Joker on one of these shelves here. But, you know, I think he fits right here. And, you know, might as well, until I maybe get another one of these boxes to go on top, at least have this be the spot filler for the moment. And in the room it looks good, but I wish it was on camera more, you know, because like my normal view cuts off like right there. So you know, we miss out on Paul Atreides in the box and the Artisan Edition Joker right above him. But still, two of my favorite figures in the collection, these two bad boy Artisan Editions. Well, all right, now we head back over to the Deadpool and Wolverine shelf where we unboxed our boy, the brown and tan Wolverine with those Hulk claws. And some people hated on that head sculpt because of the expression he's making, but like, he's more angry there, but I think this matches the scene that they were going for, and the brown and tan suit looks really good. It has like a rocky display base for him to stand on. Maybe that could be better, but the, medical silicone arms, and yeah, for this to be a cameo in that movie and not even a full part of the movie, and they did a whole figure this well, I'm very here for it. Although I am a blue and yellow Wolverine type of guy, the Wolverine here is 100% a classic version of Wolverine with that brown and yellow. But then after him, I unboxed the battling version of Deadpool. And that doesn't come with that bloody katana. That ends up coming with TVA jacket Wolverine back there. But he does come with the TVA portal, I believe. And if not, he comes for sure with those claws. And that is like a big part in big addition to this collection, making sure that that clean suit Deadpool can pull off that pose from the beginning of the movie. But that battling version Deadpool still looks really good. And now I have him next to the battling version of Wolverine. So I feel like they fit together quite nicely. But a nice little pairing of Deadpool and Wolverine for that weekend. And then the following weekend, I did a nice little pairing of TVA Loki and Sylvie. And they both kind of have little magic going on. She's got the magic in the hand as they hold hands. He's got the fire sword. They got a bunch of TVA devices down bottom there with the computer, the TVA portal device, and they both came with TVA portal devices. I ended up taking one and putting it down here for Deadpool to be able to use for that, TVA portal there. But, a couple of missed minutes, a little TVA reset device. Yeah, not bad. And, sitting right in front of my other favorite Disney Plus show at the current moment, between WandaVision and Loki, and then Daredevil Born Again ends up stealing it, and maybe that's just recency bias, and I really love Daredevil as a character and that show. But either way, my top 4 Disney Plus shows: Daredevil, Hawkeye, WandaVision, Loki. But I'm also like a sucker. I liked Moon Knight. I liked a bunch of stuff, I'm easy to please. I just want to see more of these characters, you know what I mean? Like, thank God Loki's showing up in Avengers Doomsday, but hopefully Sylvie does as well. After Loki and Sylvie, I believe this takes us into November of last year when Predator Badlands came out. So I decided to do a couple of Predator figures with the Feral Pred back there, and he looks awesome. And the Scar Pred, which is an older figure and much smaller than the Feral Pred, but still one of my favorite looking Predators, and from one of the worst movies, Alien vs. Predator, but still a badass looking Predator with that scar on the helmet. And yeah, I need to get more Predators in the future and give them a bigger shelf to take over. But Feral Pred there, and that way that his chest looks, absolute ferocious beast, and I can't wait to see what Dan Trachtenberg cooks up next for the Predators. Then I decided to slide over and do some Iron Man figures, and one of them being the Iron Man Mark IV with gantry. And this figure is so cool, and that gantry is massive and takes up so much space, but adds so much aura to Tony Stark here as it like plucks off his armor for him. He's got one arm in the machine as he's about to shoot you with the other one. He's got the helmet getting taken off behind him. Just very cool, but I still think they could do the gantry a little bit better. But this has now become a very rare piece and is one of my holy grails in this collection. And yeah, I think it's going to go up in value in the future unless they do like a 2.0 gantry and they make it better. But even so, like, to have this original gantry, I think it's something like $1,500 on eBay or something like that. I know in the store it was listed for like $1,200, and then I was able to talk to them, get my little customer discount, plus they were having an in-store discount, so I went from like $1,200 to $800 Plus I got a second figure, plus I got comics, and I got some James Bond DVDs that I was watching at the time too. So, you know, I ended up getting a really good deal on this figure, and now it's a holy grail in my collection. So shout out the Mark IV there, sitting in that gantry. And then after that, I did one of my best looking figures in this collection, and I feel like is not hyped enough, the battling damaged War Machine Mark I. And this, of course, from Iron Man 2. It comes with that little display base with some of the drones he's standing on, but you know, with all the battle damaged armor on the chest, on the shoulder, on the arm, it comes with a cannon that can get sliced in half, battle damaged faceplate, battle damaged shoulder, you know, like this guy is so cool and such a beast, and the eyes glow red when the lights are on. Yeah, like this guy is so cool. And honestly, my favorite look for War Machine. So I think this might be my one and only War Machine in the collection. But if you guys know other Don Cheadle War Machine figures out there that are cool, let me know. And I slid over and did a couple of Civil War figures from Captain America Civil War, and we did Civil War Black Panther here. And this, I think, is my favorite look in the movies for the Black Panther. Although the figure is big and chunky up top, it's a little too skinny in the middle section there, and it didn't come with any real accessories other than claw hands. And like, I need a T'Challa figure, I think, in the collection. So I'm desperately trying to find a Chadwick Boseman, you know, T'Challa head sculpt for my collection. I don't know if they ever made a T'Challa head sculpt, you know what I mean? I think it's maybe for like a figure that sits on the Wakandan throne, or maybe it's like the Black Panther 1 figure. But I also don't love the way that that suit looked in the first movie. You know, I much prefer this vibranium suit from Civil War, but you know, I definitely will be getting more Black Panthers in the future, and we have Sherry standing there next to him, so they look together good, paired up, you know, my two Black Panthers. To go along with the other Civil War figure, we did Civil War Iron Man Mark 46, and I love the arc and angle that this guy's at, leaning back. He's got the foot propulsors with the flames coming out of the hand as well. And then he's like gonna shoot you here. He's got the battle damaged chest piece from that movie where Captain America sticks his shield in the chest reactor there. And yeah, the only gripe with this figure is I wish it came with a Tony Stark head sculpt and maybe a battle damaged faceplate as well. But it is what it is. Still a very cool looking figure and a pretty damn cool base that he comes with, in like, you know, it's heavy, so it can hold up the die-cast figure as well. You know, not bad. Takes up not too much space either, and looks pretty good. Then I slid over and did Doc Ock, and I love the way that his tentacles look, and I have him in the tentacles that are like red and gold and have, you know, Spider-Man's nanotech in them at the current moment, and he's like, wave, hello, Peter, and he's about to stab him with that claw there, and I have him down here next to Doctor Strange, but right above him, I unboxed the black suit Toby Spider-Man, and he's like, Peter, good to see you, my boy. How have you been? Trying to do better, but not in this movie, because in Spider-Man 3, he was, get on up, bow, bow. And if you guys know, you know, and he's gyrating and hip thrusting and, you know, hitting on girls and slapping MJ. Yeah, ooh, to Bully Maguire was bad news, but no, it was Venom's fault. It wasn't Toby. But still a pretty cool looking figure with the Venom effects going all over him, and like the little base he can sit on there. You know, he's kind of aura farming. I kind of like that. But then I slid over and did a Iron Man figure, and that would be the first Iron Man figure with Iron Man Mark 1. And that Tony Stark head sculpt could be better, but still, you know, gets the job done, and, you know, definitely looks like Tony behind that metal mask. And you can just see how clunky and chunky this suit is compared to all the rest. But I definitely am still trying to get Mark 2 and Mark 3 and, you know, get every single Iron Man mark, but that will take some time. So we'll do that over a long period of time. But at the current moment, we got Mark 1 right here sitting next to the Mark 6 and right underneath the Mark 4. But After we did the Mark 1, I did what I call the 1.5 because he is doing the mech test version of this suit, and he's got dummy here to put him out when he's on fire. But this is like right before he ends up developing the Mark 2 Iron Man suit. So this is like the Mark 1.5, I call it. But not a bad looking figure, and when it's all lit up, it looks cool. But the Tony Stark head sculpt maybe could use some work, but that's how he looks during that scene. You know, if you're a big fan of that movie, that's how he looks. But the backdrop, you know, he's kind of in the garage working on his suit there, you know, kind of cool. And I got Stanley in the middle there throwing up a thwip. But after the Iron Man figures, I came down here and did a kind of Iron Man, but Iron Man adjacent, and that would be a concept art figure of Iron Doctor Strange. And I might end up stealing that backdrop eventually to put behind my Mark 50 Iron Man, but Iron Strange in that suit with that chest piece, I think looks really good in like the background display base and everything. Like, he's a really cool idea, but I'm not sure if too many people got this figure because it was just concept art and it was never in the film. You know, I got it because I'm crazy, but I don't know if a lot of people did. But, of course, after doing this Doctor Strange, I had to do a real Doctor Strange, so then I unboxed Spider-Man No Way Home Doctor Strange, who comes with that little magic portal thing in display base, and he's in the middle of casting the Forget Peter spell, and his base has a bunch of magic effects on it as well, and the Machina di Cadava down by his feet. You know, just a really cool figure, but honestly, I think there's a better Doctor Strange out there, so maybe I'm gonna have to go and try and find that. If you have any recommendations, drop those down in the comments. But after Doctor Strange down here, I slid back over to this DC shelf and did this amazing Batman 2.0 from 1989 Batman, and this was my first Michael Keaton Batman in the collection, and I had to get this one because of the bloody head sculpt and the giant gargoyle to sit on top of the display base behind him. I think that just looked really cool, and the base itself has Vicky Vale's shoe on it. It's got like some wooden railings. You know, it looks really cool. As far as display bases go, it's quite big, but it's still really, really well designed, well textured, well painted. And I think he pairs up with Jack Nicholson's Joker here, right over his shoulder, quite nicely. Like, look at that shot. That's perfect. But after I did that 2.0 Michael Keaton Batman, we got not 2.0, but we got two of the yellow suit Wolverines in, and I just wanted to be able to show off how different these two figures can look. And I have the clean suit with the sleeves, and he's, you know, fully clean with no battle damage shoulders, no battle damage gauntlets, no battle damage on the chest, and he's got the Hugh Jackman head sculpt on with the claws out. And, you know, not too much else is very different about this figure. But you can see then over here, from the bottom half, it's the same. But he's got now battle damage gauntlets. He's got sleeveless arms with the medical silicone arms. He's got the battle damage shoulder plates, the battle damage chest armor. And then he's got the Wolverine cowl on with the teeth roaring head sculpt faceplate thing. But yeah, the cowl looks really good, and I think him paired up next to Deadpool in either way, whether it's the battling damage version or the clean setup, I think looks really damn good. But I couldn't choose between one or the other, so I had to get both. But maybe that's just me. Comment below. Do you think I'm dumb and I wasted money on two of the same figures? I don't think so, but maybe you do. Just to prove to you how much I love Wolverine, after we did the blue and yellow Wolverine suit, I did the 1973 from X-Men Days of Future Past Wolverine, and I love that little hair, you know, almost Clark Kent hair coming down his forehead, and then he has the bone claws back there. I don't know if you can see, but yeah, leather jacket, not bad, 70s style t-shirt, not a bad looking figure, although that head sculpt could probably use some work, but it is an older figure. So then after the 1973 X-Men Days of Future Past Wolverine, I came over here and did So-So Toys. I believe they call this guy the Casino Agent, and of course he is Wolverine patch. He's got some die-cast claws down there. He's got a whiskey glass or scotch or something in his hand, and of course he has that eye patch. And as far as a third-party figure, that looks really good. And yeah, maybe he could be a little taller, but he's a suited and booted version of Wolverine, so I can't really be mad. And at the very least, this will be a white tuxedo suit of a figure that I can use in the future, you know, maybe to do my own James Bond or something, who knows. All right, we're almost done because we're catching up to what I've done recently. And this is the 2 John Wick figures I did recently with John Wick 2's John Wick. And he comes with a whole bunch of stuff and like guns and all this special stuff from the movie. And then Kane as well comes with some extra guns, a hatchet, some coins, some, you know, motion detector devices because he's blind, of course. He comes with a cane that's actually behind him that you can't necessarily see at the moment. And then he's got that dueling pistol that he and John Wick duel at the end of the movie. But having Donnie Yen and Keanu Reeves in the collection from the John Wick franchise, can't wait to add more figures from this collection. I do have a John Wick Artisan Edition on standby, and I have the Eve Macaro from the Ballerina movie, but maybe let's hope Hot Toys does a little bit extra work on that figure from the prototype stage to when they start shipping. And then after doing more of my John Wick boys, I decided this has been a sausage fest for a while, so it's time to get another lady into the collection. And that was the mighty Thor Jane Foster that I added from Thor Love and Thunder. And she as well has medical silicone arms, but female arms, so much tinier than, say, you know, Thor's arms. But she comes with the cracked Mjolnir, she comes with a pretty nice looking cape, and she comes with a cracked battle damaged helmet, but that was the special edition accessory, and I quite like how that looks. And you know, I like it a little bit more than the way that just the regular Natalie Portman head sculpt looked like. But let's be real, Thor Love and Thunder wasn't the best movie, and they could have gone and done Gore the God Butcher better and the Mighty Thor. They could have done better, but who knows? She's in Valhalla now, so maybe she'll come back. To pair up with that pretty lady, we did another lady over here, and that was Shuri from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And the only reason I got this figure because, of course, Black Panther, and I just kind of wanted to get each of the Black Panthers, so I still want to go get a Killmonger, but maybe I should have waited because we saw in the Avengers Doomsday trailer that Shuri is going to be in Avengers Doomsday leading the Wakandans as the Black Panther, but she seems to have been working with the Talokan people in Namor because she has some teal blue on the armor now, so maybe Hot Toys will do a, you know, 2.0 Shuri and upgrade this figure for Avengers Doomsday, but maybe not. And if that's the case, at least I have a Shuri in the collection. And that head sculpt of Letitia Wright looks pretty damn good, but so did the helmets, and I have the Black Panther helmet down here on the base, but I think Hot Toys forgot to put her name on the front of the base, so it's just a black blank Wakanda Forever base. I think now we are into the figures that I unboxed in 2026 now, because these figures I unboxed when Wonder Man came out on Disney+, and if you haven't seen Wonder Man, go check it out. You'll thank me later. And if you don't have time to check out the full show, check out the breakdowns on the channel for Wonder Man now. But that week, Trevor Slattery showed up in Wonder Man, so of course I did a Mandarin unboxing from his character from Iron Man 3, and he comes with the Mandarin throne, glasses, rings all over his figure, cape, you know, like very cool. And then I also paired him up with the real Mandarin, Wenwu. And then I now have Wenwu and Shang-Chi with this ring accessory that both of them come with, and they magnet in the middle, and they're doing like this pulling the rings apart, and Trevor's sitting in the middle like, whoa, this is blinding, so cool. But not a bad looking display there, but I wish it didn't take up as much room. Like if this was just a couple of inches shorter and they could be like, you know, right up next to Trevor doing this pose, I'd be much happier. But, you know, maybe in the future I'll have to, you know, swap out their pose here for something else because that's too big and takes up too much space. But after The Mandarin and Wen Wu, one of my favorite movies from 2025 and its figure finally arrived, and that would be James Gunn's Superman. And oh, this Superman figure is so vibrant and so good, and maybe the David Cornsweet likeness isn't entirely there for me, but man, oh man, is the suit perfect. You know, the trunks, the yellow spandex belt, the yellow on the shield, the yellow on the cape with the shield logo on the cape as well. You know, like, it gives me Christopher Reeves, but it's also giving me James Gunn, you know, so it's the perfect mix of classic but fresh. And then, of course, Crypto down here. And Hot Toys could have done Crypto better, but at least he's included, and I have him in this pose where he looks like he's flying because of the magnetic arm behind him that you can't really see, but you know, it's magnets right to the middle of his back, so this guy looks like he's getting a flight pose off as he stands above the Fortress of Solitude style base. Very cool, and him and Peacemaker pair up quite nicely as the only two figures from the James Gunn DCU at the current moment. And after James Gunn's soups, we slid back over to this DC shelf and did a controversial character, but still a vibrant, popping suit with that red Flash suit there, and the base looks pretty cool as well. And the really only downside to this figure is the fact that it's Ezra Miller's Flash, right? So if he was just maybe comic book accurate Flash or like the animated Justice League Flash, I would like it a lot more. And just the fact that it's Ezra really ruins it. But the suit itself has so much detail and it looks really cool. And yeah, as far as a Flash figure, this is how my Flash will be represented until we get a better version of him. Lied again. Earlier I said the Infinity War Bucky and the Age of Ultron Hawkeye were the only two figures that I didn't unbox on the channel. That wasn't true. There is a third figure I didn't unbox on the channel, and that is the DX42 non-Artisan Edition Joker there. And the only reason I didn't do it is because it was pretty much exactly the same figure as the DX43 Joker, except that head sculpt on the DX43 is way better. So I just felt like it would have been a duplicate video, so I just didn't do it. But if you guys do want to see the DX42 unboxed, I guess let me know and I'll do that for you. But after this Joker figure, I did a couple of Stan Lees, and I did this Stan Lee here, which is just Stan Lee himself in a Stan Lee director chair, and he's signing autographs, and he comes with his classic glasses, his watch, his wedding ring, and he's throwing up a thwip because he's the creator of Spider-Man, of course. But then that same weekend, I did another Stan Lee, and I did my Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 cameo Stan Lee in his astronaut suit there. And he's kind of sitting down on that base behind him. But like, how cool is that vibrant orange Stan Lee, you know, and he's in a spacesuit. He's got, you know, astronaut spacesuit. He's still got his sunglasses on underneath, like only Stan Lee would. So now I have Stan Lee and then two cameos of Stan Lee. And if anyone out there knows of other Stan Lee figures, I need to add them to my collection. After the stands, we headed back over to the Deadpool and Wolverine shelf, where I just recently did the TVA jacket Wolverine, which of course he's not wearing anymore because this figure is a fully medical silicone body and it's got some battle damage on it and cuts all over him. The only real problem with this figure that I had is the wrist pegs, you know, being visible, but the hands I ended up swapping out for an extra set of die-cast claws that I had from the So-So Toys patch over there. And then in the same weekend that I did the TVA jacket Wolverine, I unboxed X-23 Laura. And of course, Daphne Keene's X-23 looks awesome. She comes with the Juggernaut helmet to stand on, a little base that has some fire effects on it, a backpack, and of course she comes with her little claws, where she's got two claws coming out of her hands and foot claws coming out of her boots. You know, very unique character, but so glad that she got to return from Logan, and she's now all grown up and gorgeous, and I can't wait to see more X-23 in the MCU, and hopefully she returns in Avengers Doomsday with the rest of these bad boys. After X-23, I slid over and did the Batman Armory with the Bruce Wayne 2.0, and that Bruce Wayne figure actually looks spot on and awesome. And, you know, I didn't have a Christian Bale Bruce Wayne or any Bruce Wayne in my collection, so that definitely scratched that itch. Plus, I got an Armory out of the way. But like I said earlier in the video, that suit that's supposed to be in the Armory was an upgraded Batman suit, so I stuck my DX-19 in the Armory, and the upgraded Batman suit ended up here with the Joker. And you can just tell that that Batman suit looks so much better, and it's so much, you know, like the cape's already so much better, the head sculpt, the proportions, you know, and just the articulation on it, everything about it's just brand new and really well done. And then now I was able to stick the older, crustier one, the DX-19, in its perma home in the Armory there, you know, and it's got like all the hands missing and all that stuff taken off of it. You know, Bruce Wayne's not in the head sculpt anymore, you know, like it worked out quite well. And I really like the way that that Armory looks, but maybe it takes up too much space, and in the future I'll have to get rid of it to downsize. After the Batman Armory, though, I slid down here and did a couple of third-party figures, and I believe this is One Toys Kratos from God of War Ragnarok, and he comes with the spear and the axe and, of course, the Blades of Chaos, the shield, Mimir swinging off of his hip, you know, just a really, really cool-looking figure there. And then, of course, we got Jon Snow, and that was from 3-0 Toys, I believe, but you can see Long Claw in its sheath right there, and a dragon blade, dragon glass in front of him. Not the best Jon Snow head sculpt, but this is an older figure, so maybe we can get a Jon Snow 2.0 in the future. But still, very cool looking figures that go in front of my Predators right there. And, you know, maybe these guys get their own shelf in the future. But for the moment, I kind of dig how the Predators are looking there with these two goats in front of them with Kratos and Jon Snow. After Kratos and Jon Snow, I did a couple more Spider-Man figure unboxings just because of all the hype for Spider-Man Brand New Day recently. And I did the black and gold suit from Spider-Man No Way Home. And I did the Spider-Man upgraded suit from Spider-Man Far From Home. And I tossed the gold Doctor Strange gauntlet on this figure because it originally came with this black and gold suit, but Tom wears it on the red and black upgraded suit in the movie, and I have him as if he's texting MJ, and he's wearing the Tony Stark Edith glasses, and I think those figures look really good in Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I just really wanted to have a nice looking Tom Holland head sculpt with the Edith glasses to, you know, commemorate that movie from Far From Home, and, you know, one of my favorite reasons that I love Tom Holland Spider-Man so much is because Tony Stark was his mentor, you know, and it's so heartbreaking that Tony is now not there and Tom Holland is now, you know, Peter Parker's no more, and, you know, I guess we'll figure out more about what's going on with him in Spider-Man Brand New Day. But that trailer had me so hyped, and there's a breakdown for it currently up on the channel if you want to go check that out. After the Spider-Mans, I did a Ghost Rider premium format figure statue that's down in my living room that actually came out so great, and it's now like the centerpiece in my living room, and it lights up. And if you guys want to go check out that video, you can. But the next figures I unboxed after Spider-Man there was the Pepper Potts Mark 49 and the Tony Stark Mark 50 from Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame for Pepper Potts. And this is Pepper Potts in her rescue suit, and she comes with this great looking blue and gold suit with these drones out front, and the hands slot into this like blue orb that shoots out a blast in front of her. Very cool looking pose for her at the current moment, but I keep bumping into this blue thing here, so eventually I know that that's gonna break. Or I'll just have to swap it out to make it look, you know, not so heavy out in front of her. But, you know, no crotch grab or anything, so she's holding up that thing in front of her and standing on her own, no problem at the current moment. But I do wish I had a figure with that Pepper Potts head sculpt, you know, not in the mask, so maybe I'll have to go get Pepper Potts from Iron Man 3. But this Iron Man Mark 50, I also, you know, did the bonus accessories set with this figure, and he came with that sword hand and like the battle damaged mask and like that big gun hand, and yeah, a bunch of other accessories for this figure. But that Tony Stark head sculpt looks so cool and so great, and God, he's going to be back as Doomsday, but I really hope that we see a version of Tony Stark back as well. All right, and we're almost entirely caught up now because my figure 99 and 100 was the Mutant Man from Present Toys, aka Cyclops, and he doesn't come with any base, but the figure is big and chunky, and the visor was really cool, and the comic book accurate suit. I just had to get that figure, and he's one of now my favorite third-party figures in the collection, but that could also be recency biased. And then just recently as well, I did the figure for number 100 was the Human Torch from Deadpool and Wolverine. And this guy did just recently take a high dive off of the table here and destroy the Daily Bugle. So that's why his foot is now standing on the little fire tornado. But, you know, just beware. You're supposed to have maybe the base underneath him with the flight pole grabbing his waist so he doesn't fall over. But, you know, risk it for the biscuit. And he's got all these little fire accessories that go all over him, and the fire hand that attaches to his wrist peg. Very cool looking figure. I'm glad they included him, but also like they killed him and made him a pile of meat within seconds. So, you know, probably won't see the Human Torch ever again in the MCU, but Chris Evans' Captain America will be back in Avengers Doomsday, so hopefully we see him maybe against Wolverine, who knows. But then the last figure I have to show off is the figure that's getting unboxed this weekend alongside this collection tour video, and that is Netflix's Daredevil and Charlie Cox's first Daredevil suit from the series, not the Born Again suit. I do have that pre-ordered, and that should be coming by the end of 2026, hopefully. But now they also just announced the black and red suit from Daredevil Born Again Season 2, so you know your boy's going to be pre-ordering that ASAP. But if you guys haven't, go check out this video and make sure you drop a like on it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this collection tour video and going through all the figures in my collection. And I'd love to know who is your favorite person you've seen in this collection tour, and who didn't you see, and who do you want me to unbox next and add to this collection, because I think we desperately need a Thanos, and I think we need more ladies in the collection because they are very limited at the moment. You know, out of 100 figures, we definitely have far more men than we do women in here, so we definitely got to add some more ladies to the collection and some more characters. But for the most part, we don't have very many duplicates. You know, maybe some characters from different movies and different looks, but for the most part, you know, my only like duplicate is Wolverine here and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker over there. But also, you know, you could maybe go, do you need so many Hugh Jackmans? You know, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, do I need that many Hugh Jackmans? Maybe not. But look how many Tom Holland Spider-Mans I have. So, you know, you can't be too mad, you know, and they're just going to keep coming out with more and more figures. And I guess I'm going to keep coming out with figure unboxings, because you can see all the stuff I have here yet to be unboxed and some stuff coming in the future. So stay tuned for all of that. Thank you everybody for making it this far into the video, and if you watched all the way to the end in this collection tour, I hope you guys are having a great weekend, and I hope you guys enjoyed this collection tour. But I'd love to hear some things down in the comment section below. How do you think I could improve this collection? How do you think this collection looks? Is it a little too cluttered? Should I free up some space? Maybe get the Legos out of here? Who is your favorite character that we saw on these shelves? Are you more of a DC guy? Are you more of a Marvel guy? Are you excited for more Daredevil Born Again Season 2? Now that we've unboxed that Daredevil figure up there from Netflix's Daredevil, I am so ready to get Daredevil Born Again's red suit and now the black and red suit, now that that's on pre-sale, or going to be on pre-sale soon. I can't wait for that. But I really appreciate anybody that made it this far into the video. And if you've made it this far and you'd like to comment below your thoughts or send them to me on my other social medias, links for those down in the description below. And once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for making it this far into my collection tour. And if you would like to support the channel or this video, the best way of doing that is dropping a like on this video, commenting down in the comment section below, subscribing if you haven't already, and hit that bell so you don't miss future collection tours and you get the notifications when those come out. Once again, I'm Big Cam, and I'll see you gorgeous folks in the next video. Peace!